Hey guys, I'm going to work through some of the 2.A evaluating function notation DeltaMath assignments. They look like a lot, but you'll see when we get into them that they're very short or pretty quick problems that you have to do. So it's okay that I assigned 18 of them because they don't take very long. So let's go ahead and look at the first one. So this is with the numbers and expressions. And over here, I just have a canvas that I'm going to write on in case you are confused as to how I'm doing the problem. I just wanted to write it out a little bit. You don't necessarily need scrap paper for these first ones. So f of x equals negative 3x plus 4, and they want me to find f of negative 6. So I'm finding when my x values, when my input is negative 6, what's my actual answer. So when I find f of negative 6, I'll be plugging negative 6 into my function. So I'll get negative 3 times negative 6 is a positive 18, plus 4 is 22. That's how we do those problems. And you can see, oh, thank you. The next one looks very similar, right? I'm just finding g of 1. For level 2, the only thing that changes is that your function gets a little more complicated. So this is now a nice quadratic we're going to deal with. So f of 1, that means I would be finding f of 1 equals negative 2 times 1 squared plus 2 times 1. Make sure you're using those parentheses. So I get negative 2. 1 squared is just times 1. 2 times 1 is 2. So I get negative 2 plus 2 plus 4, which gives me 4. Cool. And so again, you can look at your similar problems the same way for this one. Real quick, be careful with your parentheses and squares especially. So f of negative 1 for this equation, you have a negative out front, then your negative 1 is being squared, and then you have plus 6. So my negative here just stays there. Negative 1 squared means you do negative 1 times itself. Whenever you square a negative number, your answer would be positive. So this part gives you a positive 1. Remember that negative is still up front though. So negative 1 plus 6, which would give me 5. Cool. All right. Solving for an input of a function given the output. So basically what happens here is that they give you the answer and they want to figure out what the x value is that would get you to that output. So instead of plugging 0 into my function, I set my function equal to 0 and then I solve for that x value. So subtract 5 over, divide by negative 1. So x equals positive 5. So this is a little bit different because they have you solve for what the input actually would be instead of asking you to find the input. We can do one more of those. So they say that f of x is negative 10. So I have negative 10 equal to my equation. 1, oops, add 1, negative 9 equals negative x. Divide by negative 1, x equals a positive 9. Cool. All right, let's go back and in the next section, evaluating functions with fractions. Don't be freaked out by fractions. You might just need to whip out your calculator if you're not particularly comfortable with them. So this one says f of x is negative 7/6 times x squared plus 1, and I'm plugging in, right, f of 4/7. So f of 4/7 equals negative 7/6. Oops. Wow, that went all the way back. Let's try again. It's panicking. Hold on. All right, we'll write it on this paper instead. Okay, sorry, let's try again. F. All right, what's happening right now? You guys never have technical difficulties, do you? F, there we go, of 4/7 equals negative 7/6 times 4/7 squared plus 1. Negative 7/6 just hangs out for a second, but your 4/7 squared would give me 16/49 plus 1. And you could try to do that in your head, or because we have tools and technology, you can do it in your calculator. When I do it in my calculator, I get a decimal, and then what you can hit is these buttons. You can hit math, and then enter, enter, and that will change your answer back to a fraction if possible. Oh, yep, and then it gives me my simplified fraction, a negative 8/21. And then you can add 1 to that, and we would get 13/21. Beautiful. And again, it'll do the whole explanation for you as well. They even show you without a calculator how to get your common denominators if you're just going to add that 1 and how you get to 13/21. All right, let's try another one of those. All right, for this one, if we're finding f of negative 7/6, you get negative 4 times negative 7/6 minus 5. Secretly, this negative 4 is over 1, so when I go to multiply these fractions on the top, I'll get positive 28 over 6 minus 5. And then if you're not really sure what 28 over 6 minus 5 is, if you want to do it by hand, you can get common denominators by multiplying it by 6 over 6. So 28 over 6 minus 30 over 6 gives me negative 2 over 6, or negative 1/3. You can also jump from here to here by using your calculator. Cool. All right, for the next 3, you're evaluating your function expressions, but this time you're not necessarily plugging in numbers. You're just applying an operation either to the input or to the output. So for example, for f of x, f of x equals negative 1 plus 4x squared, then what is negative function? So basically it's saying if I applied a negative to this whole function, what would my answer be? So negative f of x would be the same thing as if I applied a negative to that whole function. And then make sure you distribute your negative. So it would be negative, negative 1 gives me a positive 1. Negative times 4x squared would give me negative 4x squared. All right, so let's see. This is where the notation might get a little funky. Minus 4x squared. Nope, it's fine with it. See, they do the exact same thing. All right, this one, it wants me to put a negative on my input instead. So let's see, if f of x equals that, negative x squared minus 2x, f of negative x means that I would put anywhere that I had a regular x previously, I'm going to put a negative x. Now, this negative is on its own. Then I'm plugging in a negative x squared for that input spot, minus 2 times negative x. So let's see, negative x squared, a negative times a negative equals a positive. This negative piece, though, is still there no matter what. So negative x squared would actually just give me x squared. And then a negative 2 times a negative x would give me a positive 2x. And that's as simple as that one can get. Cool. All right, let's go back and try level 2 now. So for this one, it gives me f of x equals 5x squared minus x. Then what is negative f of x? So the same thing, you're applying a negative to your whole function. So negative f of x would equal negative your whole function. Make sure to distribute your negative. So negative 5x squared plus x would be my answer for this one. Once you can't combine any more terms, then you know you're as simple as possible. Oh, this one's a little different. So this one says find f of 2x. So that means that everywhere that there's an input, I'm going to be plugging 2x in. So my 2 is the same, my minus 6 is the same, but instead of putting just an x in there, I'm putting in a 2x. And then we simplify 2, and then negative 6 times 2x will give me negative 12x. And that's it for that one. Beautiful. All right, last one, level 3. So for this one, I have f of x equals 4/3 minus x squared, and it wants me to multiply my whole function by 3. So 3f of x would be multiplying my whole function by 3. So I'm going to have to distribute the 3 into there. 3 times 4/3, well, my 3's will end up canceling out, or you could think of it as you're doing 3 times 4 is 12, divided by 3 is still 4. And then 3 times negative x squared would just give me negative 3x squared. Awesome. Let's do one more. For this one, let's see, you got f of x, and they want me to find negative f, or f of negative x, excuse me. So my 1/2 is the same, minus is the same, and then I'm plugging in a negative x cubed. All right, 1/2 is still there. Negative x cubed, a negative x times a negative x times a negative x would still give me a negative x in the end. And then I still have this negative here as well. So 1/2 minus a negative would end up being 1/2 plus x. What the heck? What did I mess up? Oh, this is supposed to be cubed. You can't just cube the negative, you have to cube the x as well. That's so embarrassing. There we go. Oh, goodness. All right, so if you have any questions on this DeltaMath assignment, let me know.